Okay, today is Tuesday, October 22nd. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Um, yeah, not too many days left in October. Halloween's coming up, all sorts of good fun coming up. Okay. So what are we talking about today? I just want to, take a look at our schedule. Last time we had um technically the second exam was going to or supposed to be deployed in our last class, but I delayed it. All right, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and how we're going to move forward here. So in our schedule, if I can get that visible. All right, there we go. So yeah, exam two was meant to be deployed last Thursday. We delayed on that until today. Going to go over the homework and do a little more review of the closing entry stuff to kind of cap up our coverage of chapter four. And then that pretty much sets us up for the completion of the unit before the exam. So once that is done, we'll talk about the exam a little bit. Whether or not it takes us the full time today, well, it probably won't because, everything that was supposed to be for today was the next chapter, but we'll do a little spillover with chapter four, a little bit of review. We'll talk about the exam and that'll pretty much round out today's activities. So uh, right now, today, we're supposed to start chapter five, but I'm going to delay that and kind of move that until our next class. Okay. I was going to do an introduction today to it, depending on how the first part of the course goes with chapter four and finishing that up. Depending on how fast that goes, I will maybe do a short introduction to it today to kind of get things started. And then when we see each other on Thursday, we'll be 100% into chapter five. Now, having said that, the exam will be deployed today, and I'll talk more about the details of it, later in the class. But the due date for the exam, I'll mention this now, and of course, I'll mention it again when we talk about the exam later, is going to be this Friday, all right, the 25th, before midnight. So I have the due date time at 11:59 p.m. So literally 1 minute before midnight. So you have from the time I deploy it today all the way up until that time to complete it. All right. And then I'll have more information about that as we get into that part of the class. All right. But I just want to mention that for now that we have the schedule up here, and then we'll see how that goes. Okay. So we're still good to go, even though we're making a slight adjustment. Whether or not I'll actually revise the schedule and write that in there, I'll still figure that out. But instead of chapter five, we're going to finish chapter four and do a little bit of review. And then I don't really, again, if I want to start five, I will. If not, then we'll just push it to our class on Thursday and still be in good shape. All right. So having said that, the first order of business is the homework. All right. So I've got that up here. And as you remember, I gave you a single problem that was similar to the first homework I gave you, where we're kind of digging into, and it's also similar to the in-class activity we did for the worksheets. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a spreadsheet for this and basically build some things out in that because there's a couple things I want to show you that the spreadsheet has some T accounts, general journal, so we can kind of track the journal entries and what's going on with that. And then how all that spills into the worksheet. Again, we're going to very carefully, painstakingly work through the process of constructing this thing from scratch. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and read the problem here. It says the trial balance columns of the worksheet for Warren Roofing at March 31st, 2022 are as follows. All right. And this is for the month ended. So our accounting cycle or our time period assumption is 1 month, okay, which is important for that adjusting entry stuff. So there is the list. And of course, our debits equal our credits as it should in the trial balance. We've got other data, 4 things that need to be adjusted. And of course, that's 4 individual adjusting entries we need to complete, all right, which we will, all right. And then from there, we have to just complete the worksheet. At least the first part is to complete the worksheet. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to start with these adjustments, okay. Now I have a spreadsheet that I have available for this problem. All right, that's not the one actually. There it is. So as you see, the trial balance is already in the worksheet. And just to kind of do this, as a review in class first, then we'll see what it looks like in Wiley Plus, kind of piece that together. But the first order of business is the adjustments. Now, just to review, the adjustments basically are the numbers are placed in here, okay? And then the adjusting entries are done from the worksheet, okay? But as you know, I kind of reversed this because I wanted to take something that you guys have been working with for quite a while now with chapter 3 and chapter 4, and looking at those adjusting entries and then taking that information and putting it onto the worksheet. So we're kind of reverse engineering it here a little bit, all right? So let's go ahead and look at the adjustments and kind of piece those together. So the first one says, a physical count reveals only $480 of roofing supplies on hand, all right? So from the notes, you remember that on hand simply means what we've got left over, all right? That's what we have left. So this requires us to go up and take a look at our supplies account balance, all right? So we started with $2,000 in supplies, okay? And then down here in the adjustment data, they're telling us a physical count says that we only have $480 of that 2,000 left, all right? So we're going to subtract the 480, and that's going to leave us with 1,520, which is the amount that we must have used up, all right? So if you started with 2,000 and you're left with 480, you must have used up $1,520 worth of supplies, okay? And that's the nature of this adjustment. We're trying to charge to expense the amount of supplies that have been used up, all right, in one single journal entry. So this is a prepaid expense type of an adjustment because it does involve an asset we bought up front, all right, that would be the supplies. And now we're making an adjustment to that asset with the use of the asset, all right? So the 1,520 is what we need for the journal entry. So I'm going to go over here to my journal. I just conveniently have open. And I'm going to, instead of the date, I'm just going to put the numbers in here. So we'll say this would be number 1. And I'm going to go ahead and center that. Yeah, because I want that to be centered. All right. So when we think of the journal entry, that 1,520 is going to be the debit and credit amounts. All right. And the debit is going to be supplies expense. We're looking for an